Welcome on in for some more luxury cardboard. Today, I'm going to tell you what most people won't. The sad truth about investing in Pokemon, and the reality of the world we live in today with collectible assets. Let's do it. So, this video is really in response to some of the stuff I've been seeing on Twitter, and just in the Pokemon community in general about investing in Pokemon cards. I do think there's a couple things that people should be aware of that you're not going to get told by most Pokemon influencers who just want you to buy product and rip it because one of two things: either they have an investment, they're trying to sell you something, or again, they have an even bigger interest than just selling you the cards. Maybe they have some ulterior motive. So I'm not saying that every single Pokemon influencer has these bad intentions, but I don't even think they realize what is happening based on their influence. So first off, Pokemon has super low liquidity. If you've ever tried to sell Pokemon for market price, you know that just isn't a thing that happens. Like, you're going to get 70 to 90% maybe for your cards. Sealed product, you may be on the higher end of that, depending on what you have, like old collection boxes and things that take up a lot of space. Good luck. So let's start there and say the liquidity of your investment is very low or poor, I would say. Now, if you're someone like Alpha Investments or you have a successful shop already, your liquidity probably will be higher, right? That being said, when market price drops, you're just going to have to sell for that lower price, and that is what it is. There's really no avoiding that. So what I like to look at is a couple things. What kind of leverage are the people who you're encouraging to quote unquote invest into Pokemon have? Do they have a credit card where they're paying 18% for cards? Or do they have a small business loan where they're paying 1/3 of that, right? So when you see these influencers, like any of them, name any Pokemon influencer or person who's talking about, sealed product. Do they have a business? Are they buying product at a much lower percentage rate than you? Therefore, they have much higher leverage than someone like you or I does, right? Using a credit card, you're already at a disadvantage, right? So one, the liquidity, you're never going to get 100% of market. So go in your collector app and look at that, minus 20% right off the top. Secondarily, the leverage that these people who are encouraging others to invest in Pokemon have generally is much greater. If you have a business, you can get a small business loan and you're paying, again, 1/3. Woo! I wanted the Lipard. Let's go. You can get, and we got a Kildeo in the back there. You can essentially get, a 6% loan for small business when a credit card is 18 to 24%. So if you're buying, sealed product as an investment on credit, well, that's just kind of crazy. Now, let's go into the final L that the investor bros are going to take today. It's all about longevity. So there are investors who can hold the product for 10 years. They have the liquidity, they have the leverage, they have the capital. Therefore, the longevity in which they can have the investment, or the length in which they can have the investment, ultimately is going to produce more fruitful results. Now, I always like to do this, and this was something that an old mentor of mine used to teach me. It's the rule of 72, right? So whenever you're looking at a loan, you take that number and divide it into 72. So in the stock market, you make about, let's say, 12.5% a year. At 12%, in 6 years, you've doubled your investment, right? And the liquidity in the stock market is a little bit better. There's always someone buying and selling, and you're never going to take a 20% haircut on selling a stock, generally. So it's just like, to me, when I look at longevity in Pokemon, you really have to treat it as if it was a 401k or some type of stock, and say, hey, I'm not going to touch this for a long time in order to be successful. Now, I'm just going to say there's 20,000 reasons how you could end up not being able to sell your collection, whether that's something as simple as like, hey, your basement floods, to, you go off to college and mom sells your collection. Or, hey, maybe you just live in a humid area and your cards weren't stored properly. So now all those collection boxes you spent all that time going out and getting, now they're all just Pringled cards in a box. So again, none of this is to scare you. If you enjoy Pokemon, just enjoy Pokemon, and treat it for what it is, a really fun hobby. But if you're an investor or you're claiming to be an investor, you need to think about the 3 L's: liquidity, leverage, and longevity. If you can't master these 3 things in this hobby, you're not an investor, or you'll end up a failed investor. And I don't want to see that. The Pokemon company doesn't want to see that. None of us want to see that. So just think about these things when you're, buying the extra ETB or, maybe spending a little bit above your means. We're all guilty of it. I do it too. But all I'm trying to say is that be thoughtful, guys. Obviously, this isn't financial advice because, Pokemon is unregulated and it's not investing. So just enjoy the game. Enjoy luxury cardboard. If you have any questions, you want to know about the giveaway, tap in, comment in the comment section. Do appreciate you guys as always for tuning in. And I will talk to you again real soon. Peace.